Alright, welcome back. Today I am going to be working on my Kraton ExB. Went ahead and got a few things, picked up some wheelie bars. I actually bought this set of wheelie bars for the smaller wheels. Something I want to try, maybe swapping the wheels over. What I don't want to happen is the wheelie bar stopping backflips. But I don't want to tear up the wing like I've been doing on my V4 Kraton, and now this one's starting to get a little damaged too. So hopefully the wheelie bar will protect some of that and not bend the rear shock tower. The other thing I suggest you guys get, I use caliper tool. The one I use is Rotocal. It's something I've had in my toolbox for years. I use it for checking rotors and drums and that kind of stuff on cars, and now it's coming in handy with checking on shims. And I've been going over the parts, the diff I took apart, and really for the amount of time that I ran it, which is basically 2 runs, to see the different wear that I'm having. So a couple things I wanted to show you guys. I did take my diff and took some brake clean, and got to be careful with this stuff, but took some brake clean and cleaned up all the parts that I'm going to be putting back together. Arrma is sending me another diff, a complete assembled diff, and I've got another part coming for this that will also correct it if that diff breaks, because downtime is something that I hate on a new RC. So take a look at this. I've been noticing different wear, and I don't know if the camera's really gonna pick this up, but let me grab my light. I don't know if the light actually helps, or every time I turn it on it kind of dims. But what's happening is this one right here has got a bunch of wear at the top. So I went ahead and calipered these, and they're actually different sizes. But this diff cup, which was my ring gear side diff cup, which happened to be the same one that the sun gear is what people are calling it, chipped a bunch of teeth on. It had movement in and out, and you can see it here with it wearing off the black hardened coating. I believe that's the heat treating. The other thing that I was noticing is on these little spur gears is the wear, the movement of the gear. As you see, some sides don't have it, but other sides have it a lot. And these sit down like this, and the sun gear spins on this, so you are going to see wear, but what you don't want to see is movement. This line should be the same all the way around. You don't, if you're getting movement like this back and forth on these gears, that's a bad sign. That's letting you know that it's not shimmed properly. So both of mine have signs that it was moving back and forth. Now that one had a lot more than this one. and that one was the top one. This was actually the bottom one. So this one almost perfectly straight on both sides and less wear all the way around. So for me, you know, being a mechanic, I'm used to looking at parts and trying to break down what happened. I did watch, I think it was Razor RC, did a video on shims today and gave part numbers, so go check him out. It was very informative, and he was right. What they've done is they've put 2 large shims and 1 small shim in there, and this is allowed for play. So if you just lose one of the large shims and put the 2 small bigger shims in it, that's going to take up your slop. So I did have 3 on both sides, and what's funny is I keep thinking there's 3 different sizes of these, and I didn't measure them. No, they're the same. So the 2 larger ones are the same, and then it has a small one, and that was on both sides of my diff cups. So yeah, so what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be reassembling this, and I am going to shim it with the shims that I have. I didn't purchase the Arrma shims, but I have different diffs with different shims in it, and I'm hoping to get out that play. So I am going to assemble mine today as well. And first I'm going to get these O-rings in here. And no matter what shims you put in there, whatever it takes to take up the slop, make sure that you do put the 1 large shim towards the O-ring, because that's going to help seal and keep that O-ring closed to stop it, hopefully, from leaking. So I'm going to get this thing all put back together, and hopefully that'll be the end of diff problems on the ExB, because I can't watch another diff video on the ExB. Some are saying, and I agree with, I believe it's Razor RC, I hope I'm not mistaken, but I agree with him. Adding the LSD diff plates to the back, I don't want 3 diffs in mine. I don't want to end up on 2 wheels and it diffing out constantly. I don't want to end up you know, slipping the rear diff, the center, and the front. I don't need that much movement. It's a basher for me, so locking up the rear is better than you know, putting a limited slip diff. I like the open diff idea, because that's going to basically apply power to the one that's, you know, slipping. So or not slipping, the one that's on the ground that's got bite, hopefully it's going to diff out, put the other wheel down so that both wheels have traction all the time, which is going to keep your RC planet, in my opinion anyway. But you know, what do I know? I just used to working on automotive cars for a living, and you know, working on car differentials, not RC differentials. I find it a lot harder to work on the RC differentials than I do a car's differential. And believe me, they have shim and shim patterns and that kind of stuff, and I wish I could use the paste and run this thing, and you know, you probably could dry to see where your shims need to be, but they're not thick enough to read a pattern on. They're just too small. to actually see a pattern. So I just don't think that's possible. But I could be wrong. I'm not gonna keep the camera on the whole time I'm putting this thing together. I don't think it's, everybody knows how to put these diffs together. Well, at least I'm hoping everybody does. I am going to show a little bit. So what I've done is this is the side that I had no issue with, which is my diff cup side. I put all the shims back, and I had them separated up here, what went where, even though they're the same on both sides. So I just pulled out the little set screw there. That's going to allow me to put my pin back in. Now I'm just pushing down on the shims so that I can slip that in. Which puts pressure on the O-ring, so nice and tight. And don't forget to put your grub screw back in here so it doesn't leak. Then sun gear, what do I do with it? Right here. Pop the bearing on this side so I don't forget before I put the other one back together. And that's it. I'm going to pause the video here, and I'll be back with you when I've got it all assembled. Down. So I've got my diff fluid filled up. I'm letting it settle. It's a special mixed diff fluid that I'm using. Gasket's not straight. I can see that now. And there we go. All right. So went ahead and got the diff all put back together. Nice and smooth. Nice and tight. No play. So that's ready to go back in. This is a diff for a limitless, and you can see how small that center hole is and how wide the sun gear is and how much more bite these teeth have compared to the other ones. And you can see how thick they made these plates on the side. Compared to that, those gears these are just much fatter gears. So they've actually pushed these gears more towards the center to keep them buried into this sun gear, compared to those little thin plates they put on the ExB diff. So just something very interesting that I noticed. I also picked up a ProTech steering servo, because I noticed when I had it out, when it's just sitting still, I have very limited steering. Now the voltage was at 5, I could go to 6, but turns out those Servox servos I bought aren't the 7.4 ones I normally get. So I went ahead and grabbed this one, which runs 7.4, 453 ounces. So that's going to be going in the EXB as well. This is the way I pull it apart, because this wing and stuff gets in the way from sealing. So I just take out the 2 bolts and flip this thing forward. Gives me plenty of room. So we are going to get this back together. All right, we are back. I am going to put in my diff. Now that I got it repaired, ended up making my own sun gear. So took an old gear I had that was the right size gear, right teeth and everything, and drilled out the center hole. So went to my buddy's machine shop and just made one. Wow, I dropped those bolts that I had in here, which should be those. Now I'm going to slip this in, and I want to check play. Now I take off a lot of stuff when it comes to doing the diff cover, more than I guess you really need to. A few people have pointed it out, but it makes it easier so I can get in here, so that I can really lock this stuff down properly. And then I'm gonna put, here's the wheelie bar that I'm gonna run on this. I found a couple of them, so I bought what they had. So this is supposed to take the place of these screws here. So I think I'm gonna pop that on if I can. This will make it a lot easier to get to these bolts here. And then these little things should pop out. Little spacers, which I'll keep. And this should fit right back in here. I think these should have came with the wheelie bar. What do you guys think? Since it's an extreme basher, don't you think it should have came with a wheelie bar? But who knows? Gotta leave something for people to modify, because that's just gonna protect it from scraping, hopefully. And yeah, there is a lot of slop in it. Maybe I'll throw some spacers in it. I don't know if there's real bearings in it. It feels like it. But now we're going to pop on these bottom screws. And that's what I'm hoping the wheelie bar is going to protect. So there we go, guys. Got it all back together. I think I'm going to run it again without a fan here, just to check temperatures. I never went to cutout, but I just want to make sure that I'm not running at too high temps. I am going to get this steering servo changed out and finish up the back. You guys know how the rest goes. I just wanted to show you putting the diff pretty much back together the way I do it. A lot of guys just, you know, get the sway bar out of the way and pop this cover off and squeeze the diff out. But with all this going on here, for me, this is just a little bit easier, clearing up, flipping this up out of the way, and leaves you a lot of room to see what's going on and take your measurements and do everything that you need to do when there's a problem. If there's no problem and you're servicing it, yeah, just pop off the cover. You will have to remove the wing because you can't get to this angle here unless you use a ball tip. So there we go, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. The next time you see this, it's going to be out. We're going to be bashing it and see how the new rear diff is going to hold up with my homemade fix. Now, I do have another fix coming for it, and that's why I did this, because if it does break, it really doesn't matter. I've got a fix showing up Saturday that's going to solve my issue on the back of this RC. Thinking about also getting a hot racing diff cover or case for this thing. I think they make one, and that's really going to help support, I think, that ring gear. I don't bash as hard as most people, but I have been sending this RC because it is an extreme basher, so I've been sending this a lot farther than I normally would. So there we go, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching.